Welcome to the Cryptonomatron, guys. Thanks for joining me again today. In this video, we'll be doing an ICO review on Sparkster. But if this is your first time watching my channel and you want to know more about ICOs, blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and other related subjects, then don't hesitate but to click on that subscribe button and click on that bell notification icon as well, and you'll get notified as soon as I upload new content and as soon as I go live. So thanks for doing that, guys. Let's get on with this ICO review on Sparkster. So what is Sparkster? Well, in essence, they are going to try and allow people to build apps without any knowledge of code. That's as simple as it gets, really. But they've also got some big ambitions as well. They reckon they can get their smart software to run at 10 million transactions per second. Yep, it's an ambitious goal, and let's see in this review whether they've got a chance of achieving that. So who are the competition for this project? Well, we're not going to look at the blockchain competition because this is really a first mover in terms of what they're actually trying to do. So let's look at the centralized competition. IBM, Microsoft, and Salesforce being the three main ones that I can think of off the top of my head. Now, what they are is cloud computing for business, but specifically for developers really and software people rather than just the individual that's trying to get something done. Now, this is an important point to make because if we see the platforms that Microsoft and IBM and Salesforce have implemented, they're very much aimed at software developers. Now, what Sparkster are trying to do is basically have a platform that any Joe Schmo with a basic knowledge of computing and using a computer can actually build their applications on. That's fundamentally beyond what the existing competition are doing at the moment. So you can see they may well have the competitive advantage in this space. Now, as far as competition is concerned, they're already established. You know, IBM and Microsoft have been at the top of the tree for a long, long time, as have Salesforce. And they're going to be very difficult to knock off that perch, being well established. But this project has some innovative and clever solutions to certain problems that might help them gain that competitive advantage. So in terms of decentralized competition, there's also Daddy, which had an ICO quite recently. And there's also Blue-Zell as well. Now, both of those are going to be taking on the likes of Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, the ones I just mentioned. But the competitive advantage that Sparkster will hope to have over these is their drag and drop interface and the ease of use. They're targeting actual individuals, anybody that can use a computer basically, rather than software developers. So the biggest problem I see with what exists at the moment is basically you never can get what you exactly want. And what I mean by this is you have to keep going back to your software development team or your project team to get the project refined to your ideas. You can't implement your ideas yourself, and that is the fundamental problem here. So there's a breakdown into 4 different categories of problems in the white paper. The first one is iterative software development lifecycle. And basically what this means is it's the process in which software is currently created, and it's rather long-winded, convoluted, difficult, expensive, you name it, not really ideal. And, you know, if you want to get your idea actually to fruition, there's a lot of to and froing between the project development team, you know, and a lot of other issues that you need to get over as well. The other problem highlighted in the white paper is enterprise software is currently defunct, and software from SAP, Oracle, Microsoft, for example, is incapable of interfacing with other technologies that are coming in the future. So it doesn't matter who you're using, it's just not possible to integrate, and that's going to be a massive problem in the future. There's also impediments to innovation. So not only are traditional ERPs incompatible with the technology of the future, the big problem is the vast majority of devs at the moment, they actually lack the technical knowledge and expertise to build on these new technologies. So companies today they can't find the talent that they require. This is one impediment, but there are several others as well. Again, for individuals, programming language, the complexity of them is preventing the vast majority of people from being able to actually get their ideas to fruition. And the final concern they highlight in the white paper is the environmental concern. Now, to give you an idea of just how much electricity or energy is consumed by cloud computing, basically, Greenpeace suggests that it consumed 632 billion kilowatt hours of energy in 2007, and that's expected to increase threefold by 2020. That is incredible. You can imagine the associated CO2 carbon dioxide emissions are just at phenomenal levels. We're dying here. Oh. So the aims of Sparkster then are to build this decentralized software solution, this decentralized cloud, if you like, which basically will allow anybody, in plain English, to build applications or software. That essentially is what it's all about. Now, yes, they have lofty ambitions of scaling up to 10 million transactions per second, but again, that's an afterthought. At the moment, let's look at just what they want to do. So they want to meet the needs of widespread blockchain adoption by allowing you to create what you want to create, get your ideas onto paper, get your ideas actually executed into software, into applications very easily using a nice and simple drag and drop interface. Now, it's basically going to be very, very easy. It's going to run on the decentralized cloud. It's going to, you'll be able to find customers on the marketplace. Indeed, if you're building your own applications for profit, it's an ambitious and clever idea. And now we'll take a little look at the potential market for this. So the market for cloud computing infrastructure and platforms worldwide up to 2018 is in the region of about $35 to $43 billion per annum. Now that's a fantastic amount of money, as you can see. The market is expected to grow exponentially year on year well into the future as companies realize that the cloud is more the more usable way of doing business rather than hosting everything on a centralized server in the office. Again, that's not possible now for a lot of applications that companies are running. So they have to look to a decentralized solution in the future as well, because that is obviously going to ensure better security, privacy, and all the advantages that come with using blockchain technology. You see where I'm going with this now? So market is huge, but there's another thing to mention here as well, and that is the fact that let's say if even just 1% of the population is able to actually utilize the services of IBM, Amazon, Microsoft Azure, whatever it may be, 1% are savvy enough, they're computer literate enough, they're software literate enough to actually use those services. What about the other 99%? So they've spent about 14 years working with software developers, so they understand the requirements, and it's a bit of a problem that they've encountered themselves. So they've been in development for about 6 years in total to try and build this solution that basically will allow you to implement your ideas a lot quicker, faster, and cheaper than traditional methods. So some interesting facts about this platform. Well, the platform will be able to scale horizontally. The reason it will scale so quickly is because it will utilize individuals' computing power as nodes. And I'll explain a little bit more about how they're going to scale in the next section. It's also going to be secure. It implements AES 256-bit encryption and OAuth 2.0 as well on the containers. It has multiple use cases. It can be used for Internet of Things, for example, artificial intelligence, smart contracts, without any code whatsoever. As I mentioned before, it's actually just block. You drag a block and drop it in where you want. And it works at a cost per transaction as well. So it's going to be much cheaper than traditional methods because you're paying every time you recruit a node, for example, or even if you buy a server or more server space from Amazon or Microsoft or whoever you're using. So it's going to be a lot more cost effective. Also, They're going to have a marketplace too, which means you'll be able to earn from your creation. So you can build stuff and market it on this marketplace. And also, if you're actually being part of the network, if you're actually operating as a node, you will get rewarded as well. So this all lends itself to a vastly reduced cost to build your software at about 100 times quicker and easier than is existingly available, and that is pretty impressive, you've got to admit. So there are two parts to the system. One is the platform, the Sparkster Platform, and that's the thing that allows you to build your software without writing any code. It's basically drag and drop these blocks, as you can see above my head, into basically the system that you want to build, and it'll allow, you know, even small children, there's a video about this, that can integrate it with Internet of Things. I think they integrated a block that when turned over actually activated or deactivated a light switch, which is very interesting. So if small children can use this, it goes to show how simple it really is. Now, it was designed or architected for high volume distributed applications as well, horizontally scalable, implementing streaming pipelines. The platform is architected to support the demands of Internet of Things, obviously, and artificial intelligence environment as well. So very, very usable. It's also secure. I mentioned before, it implements AES 256-bit encryption and also OAuth 2.0 authorization and authentication methods. So it's ready for enterprise use as it is, and without any knowledge or concern for the actual design of the software, and that's the beauty of the whole thing. So it was designed for use with the Sparkster Decentralized Cloud, which is the other part of the system that I want to mention now. The Decentralized Cloud is going to facilitate the execution of smart software, which will use the Sparkster no-code platform, as we just mentioned. So basically, you'll use the platform to build your software application, and then you'll run it on the Sparkster Decentralized Cloud. So the Decentralized Cloud will consist of a bunch of miners. Now, they will be people basically allowing their computing power to be used, and you can use a mobile device, laptop, desktop, tablet, you name it, you'll be able to use it and become part of this cloud. You will get rewarded, obviously, for the computing power that you're donating to the system. So essentially, you're not performing mining, you're just acting as a node. Now, miners can act as computing and also storage as well, but you'll be staking tokens to ensure that you're operating honestly. And if the nodes do not operate honestly, then the validating node will take away your tokens, much like the Ethereum network works at the moment. So this project is actually a soft fork of Stellar Lumens. The reason they're using Stellar is they are basically interested in using the Federated Byzantine Agreement System, or FBAS, that Stellar uses. It's quick, it's got low latency, and it's been claimed to achieve 10,000 transactions per second and process over 36 million transactions per hour. So again, it's federated consensus. It's quickly achieved, basically, and that's what the beauty of using Stellar is. Right, so the $1 million question is, how do they achieve 10 million transactions per second? Well, the answer to that is by using node sharding, or node clusters, basically. So as you can see from the graphic behind me, you have a network that's split or isolated into different node clusters, and that is the principle behind this this system. And that will allow, because all the nodes don't have to share a lot of information together, they split into smaller parts. It's a little bit like sharding. Then they don't have to basically share the same hash table. They can share it by client groups. That's essentially how it works. So basically, by doing that, they can speed up the network. Now, they've successfully tested already to well over 6,000 transactions per second. So they're on the way. It's a bit far away from 10 million, but it's not bad still. Now, they're using the Stellar Consensus Protocol, or SCP, for reaching consensus between the different parties on the network. They've also got this additional layer which determines how the tasks are going to be allocated, and that layer will govern the earnings for each participant in the network as well. So in doing that, they create this system of incentivization that keeps all the parties honest. As I mentioned before, most blockchains actually work in this fashion, and that also minimizes the risk of the attack on the network as well, and wasteful work. So in order to facilitate privacy and security, they're going to implement zero-knowledge proofs. Now, you might have heard of ZK snarks before. That is the zero-knowledge cryptography that Zcash uses. But there are others, and they're basically all following the same lines. So the way they work is if Peggy, in the example behind me, she's in the purple. She wants to prove to Victor, he's in the green, that she knows the passphrase to a door within the cave. Peggy, being private, wishes to prove that she knows the passphrase but does not wish to reveal the passphrase. Peggy chooses the path to go down without Victor seeing. Either A or B, it doesn't matter. Victor yells out which path he would like her to return from, and suppose this experiment was repeated 20 times. Each time Peggy emerged successfully, the probability of Peggy being able to pull this off successfully without knowing the passphrase is about 1 in 1 million. So there you go. That's zero knowledge proofs explained. So this project will be implementing ZK snarks, same as Zcash, because they believe that they're succinct and non-interactive as well. So proof consists of just one message sent from the prover to the verifier, and they're very lightweight as well, so just a few hundred bytes and can be verified in milliseconds. So some of the other cool tech features on this project are, of course, multi-chain interoperability. I hate saying that word, but basically, you know, that's going to be essential for the future. And as it's a decentralized cloud blockchain that specializes in cloud computing, it doesn't have to execute payments natively, so they can basically integrate with other blockchains and networks very easily by just creating a piece of software to allow you to do so. So dead easy, but it does have native integration with Ethereum and IOTA. You can actually generate Ethereum contracts, smart contracts, in plain English using the platform, but you can also interact with any Ethereum smart contracts as well in plain English. And they also can interact with the IOTA network through IOTA smart transactions that are facilitated by IOTA flash channels. In the future, they will be able to integrate with Neo, Cardano, and Stellar as well. So, because we've no global state here and we're working with cluster nodes, you'll be asking, how do the nodes themselves identify which cell the client's data is stored in? And this is quite important because otherwise you're going to have security breaches and sensitive information is going to leak. The nodes won't communicate the way they're meant to. So that they use a smart algorithm called consistent hashing. Now this allows the hash of the client ID, and it extracts a number that's bound to this client ID. So the bounds represent a point on a circle, for example, and all cells, which are clusters of nodes, divide up the circle equidistantly. So you can think of a pie chart. Then you're able to assign a cell to a client and identify its cell using the consistent hashing algorithm. So any compute node can determine independently where they might find a client's data without interacting with any central authority or requiring any central database. So you've got this results in a network that's fully decentralized, essentially, so that the decentralization aspect of this network is not compromised by having these cluster nodes. So another important consideration for Sparkster is the integration of artificial intelligence and Internet of Things. And of course, I mentioned the video of the children flipping the block to turn off and on the light switch. Now, you know, this is integral to the Sparkster platform's vision, and they've already demonstrated that they can use AI facial recognition to detect a cleaner and open a door lock, and executed an automated payment via IOTA as well. So this entire demo was built on their platform with no code, as I said, using plain English, the drag and drop method. So again, the video is available on the YouTube channel. Quite interesting indeed. So again, technologically, this project is very, very sound, I feel. So the network does operate a system of incentivization. Of course, you really have to do so these days, especially on the blockchain, to get people to actually use your service over the existing giants like Amazon and Microsoft. Now, compute nodes and storage nodes will be rewarded in the Spark token for their contribution to the network, as I said before. If you are contributing mobile, tablet, or notebook CPU and memory, then you will receive Spark tokens. And remember, the clients will be paying for this service, so the fees will be distributed for those that are lending their computer power to the network. Now, storage nodes that contribute storage space and network bandwidth will also receive Spark tokens in return as well. So pricing can be set by the device owner as well. So you can set price per function or price per action or whatever it may be. So you'll have full control over what your device is actually doing and how much you're getting rewarded for it. So the token is an ERC20 Ethereum based token, and the smart contract for the crowd sale will be Ethereum based as well. They will transfer over to their own proprietary token on the Stellar network later on, once the crowd sale's over and once the decentralized cloud network gets up and running. So the tokens themselves are designed to facilitate transfer of value between members of the community, and also to provide an incentivization as well, so that they get people to contribute to their marketplace. Now, you will be charged a fee for using the marketplace, but that will be automatically discounted if you charge for your contribution. So all payments, all fees will be charged in the Spark tokens. Now, the remittance of these fees will be done automatically as well, so you don't have to worry about that. The platform is already available for use at the moment, but the cloud will be coming in the future. So the Spark token is going to be used to purchase execution on the decentralized cloud. As I mentioned before, you'll be paying per transaction and not per server use or anything else like you do in traditional systems. Hence, it's going to be a lot cheaper, but payments will have to be made in Spark tokens. Also, if you're mining on the network, i.e. if you're acting as a node, then you will be required to stake an amount of tokens as collateral to ensure you're not cheating as well. So verifying nodes will be checking that the miners are honest, and again, if they're found to be cheating, then the stakes will be captured. So that is integral to the efficient and correct operation of the decentralized cloud network. And as usual, after the ICO is complete, the token will be transferable on major exchanges, and I would assume this one will be picked up by one of the bigger exchanges, although that is purely just an assumption. But because of the hype behind this project, I think there's a good chance of that happening. But again, it's ERC20 based, so IDEX and the decentralized Ethereum token exchanges will actually probably be your best bet for picking this up if you don't get in on the ICO. So there are no red flags or scam warnings, at least not officially, but there are people on social media calling this one out as a scam, and the reason for that is they've looked deeply into the team apparently and found that it was Sajid's dad that was the owner of the company, or some other such nonsense that they're claiming. And as well, the fact that there's no code published raises a few concerns, but I'm not overly concerned. I will discuss my concerns at the end of the video as per usual, but officially there's no scam warning or red flag being issued for this project as of this review date. So the pre-sale was successful and it's now over. Price of the tokens at the pre-sale was 15 cents. Now, there was no bonus for pre-sale, but there was a bonus that was offered to strategic partners. Now, details of that are not quite clear. It was 30%, but we don't know how many of those people that got involved early on were considered strategic partners. My second concern is there's no lockup period for bonus tokens or pre-sale tokens either. So pre-sale tokens had to be purchased at a minimum of $25,000 worth. So this is going to mean that this is perhaps and potentially could dump heavily on exchanges. So as far as the main sale is concerned, the whitelist will be available soon. We don't have many details about it. There's no bonus, obviously, for the public sale. American, Chinese and South Korean citizens are excluded from participation here. We don't know the token price yet, so and we don't know when it's actually going to happen. So again, no details provided as of today. So I really can't score on token economics that much because we simply don't know the price of the token. But if it is a lot more than the pre-sale tokens, then I think this would be one to avoid. So they will be giving 1% of the tokens to charity, as you can see from behind my big bald head. There you go. And I think that's quite a nice touch, actually. I like that. So the tokens then, in terms of total supply, there are 435 million with a hard cap of 30 million US dollars, which isn't too bad, especially for a project that's got as much hype behind it now as this. The circulating supply is estimated to be around 290 million. It's a little bit less because bonuses were eliminated for pre-sale participants. Now, pre-sale hard cap was 24.3 million. Crowd sale hard cap is a paltry 5.7 million, and you know how I'll be scoring this at the fair play section of my ICO scoring metrics. So again, not a lot of tokens available for the crowd sale in general. The vast majority, 250 million worth of the tokens were given away or sold during the pre-sale, and only 38 million tokens are going to be distributed during the crowd sale. So not very impressive in terms of giving people a fair go, considering the minimum investment at pre-sale was $25,000 per individual. So this project is not running a bounty campaign. It doesn't appear to need one. It's got the hype already behind it. So fair play to them, I suppose. But please, sir, me family got to eat. So in terms of roadmap, the main thing to note here is they've already tested their platform and it's already available as a public beta. So you can sign up on their website and use it. Now, in terms of where they're going to go, well, obviously the next thing is to actually get the decentralized cloud going. And they've already had their internal beta release earlier this year, but the public release will happen sometime later on, Q4 2018, I think the roadmap refers to. So other things are going on as well. The roadmap's pretty good, but we're looking towards end of 2018 into 2019 for some real progress other than what we've seen already. But the fact they've got a working product before they launch the ICO, yeah, that's important for me. So the team then consists of 4 core team members, and then there are far more other developers that are based in India. Faceless cast of thousands. Sorry guys, I'm only joking, but we won't go into them. We'll just look at the 4 core members for the purposes of this review. And I've no doubt that the team are capable of implementation because, as you know, a lot of Indians are very skilled, especially in software development. It's becoming quite a bit of a hub for recruitment as well in that regard. So in terms of the core team then, what we're concentrating on, Sajid is the CEO and he's a serial entrepreneur. He had a very short stint at Cisco earlier on in the early 2000s, but he's the guy behind the Sparkster platform. He is more of a salesman, I would say, than anything else from what I've seen. He does seem to have some technical knowledge. So then we move on to Amit Kumar. He's worked very closely with the CEO before and for quite some time, 11 years indeed. He's an IT professional, but he's got no blockchain experience. He has worked for Wipro, which is quite impressive. Again, he's been involved with manufacturing, e-commerce. He's got a practical knowledge in architecting platform as a service and software as a service development model. Probably the star of the show on this 4-person team is Shabir Kirmani. He is the technical evangelist. He's had stints at AT&T, Pfizer, NBC, Universal, and also the US Department of Defense, would you believe? He's a techie, public speaker, worked with Fortune 100 firms. So yeah, the fact he's involved gives me some confidence that this is a decent project. So last but not least, and sitting behind my bald head is Dayani Rajiv. She's Vice President of Human Resources. She's got 10 years experience working with Sajjad, the CEO, and she's also led large HR projects for big companies like IBM, Citibank, and Accenture as well. So there are only a couple of advisors on this project. One is Professor Gary Levins. He works as Chair of Computer Science at the University of Central Florida. He's a PhD from MIT as well. And then we have Juan Albello. He's Senior Vice President at SAP. That's quite impressive. He's worked for Oracle as well before. 20 years of sales experience in the software industry, working for these types of companies. So yeah, a couple of impressive advisors. So worth pointing out that the top tier software engineers and marketing executive have quite a decent amount of experience at big companies as well. So I just thought I'd point that out. So in terms of partnerships, there's only a couple, but they are quite important, I feel, for the future of this project. One is ARM Holdings. Now, they're the world's leading semiconductor intellectual property supplier, and at the heart of the continuing evolution of electronic devices. The other one is Libelium, and they are an Internet of Things, smart cities, and machine-to-machine platform provider. They have wireless sensor networks hardware, and they manufacture quite a few other things into the bargain. So needless to say, Ian Bellina mentioning this project has shot it to the moon in terms of community support and hype, and it has now 22,703 followers on Telegram. They've got 3,566 followers on Twitter, but they are quite active in updating all the social media channels as well, it has to be noted. And they have got a decent YouTube channel as well, which has a lot of information on it. If you want to know more about the project, I suggest you visit there. I've linked to a few of their videos in this review as well, just to help you out, guys, yeah? So final verdict time, guys, and let's look at the positives first that I see in this ICO. So what I like about this project, what are the positives? Well, the first one has got to be it's an enterprise-ready platform already. They do have it ready before the ICO launches, and that's one major thing. A lot of ICOs, a lot of projects don't even consider that and work straight from a white paper that's just an idea. So that's an advantage for this project. And the MVP demo we've seen, and the beta is available. You can sign up. I hope to get accepted and use it, and then I can maybe bring you a short video on it in the near future as well. This project is innovative, it's well researched, and it's forward thinking, despite what many would say are flaws with the technology or the solution for scalability here. I think in general they have put on paper what they want to do quite well. Is it a viable solution? Again, some developers have their doubts. A lot of people saying, well, it's not exactly blockchain technology, it's centralized in a way. But if they do have the solution, and if it is a solution, then it could be potentially massive, guys. What I like about it as well, it's not only for software developers. It's a drag and drop interface that anybody can use as long as they've got a modicum of computing knowledge, and that could be a massive competitive advantage going forward. It's potentially a first mover in terms of cloud computing, and I don't mean in terms of decentralized cloud computing. We've seen those already in terms of Daddy, Blue-Zell. It's quite a competitive space. Everybody wants to do it. But in terms of accessibility to the masses, and that is the deal breaker here, it's what we're talking about. Now, it solves real problems in terms of getting your idea to fruition. Instead of dealing with this software development or project team, you can actually just go, do it yourself, and get what you need, and get exactly what you need, not some sort of equivalent of what the software development team think you need. It will be free to use. Up until a point, this is completely free. Obviously, if you're a commercial entity, you'll be expected to pay for it. And this could have a huge market inside and outside of the current competition. Now, there's no reason why they can't take some market share away from Amazon, away from Microsoft, away from IBM, but it's got a huge market outside of that. It's got a huge market of people that don't actually use, but would like to be able to use those platforms. And this has got a good roadmap and vision. They know what they're doing, they know where they're going, and they've elucidated that in the material fairly well. I like the fact they're giving to charity as well. It's a nice touch, and I think more projects should consider doing a similar thing, especially when they're raising obscene amounts of money, as most of these projects are. And the Bellina belly is getting filled up on this one, and what I mean by that is, guys, he's already back in this project. They won at one of his world tour venues, first prize, so the hype is definitely there, and if Bellina backs it, you can guarantee it's going to be hyped to the max. So there are a few negatives about the project as well, as you can imagine. So the first one is the token sales are still unclear at this stage. We don't have a price for the main sale, and it was just generally not very well defined, or there's some details on Telegram. I had to go to get them. They're not on the website. Again, the token sale details, very messy, poorly defined. They could have been done better here, guys. Another thing I don't like, and I will mark them down in the scoring, is large pre-sale amounts and minimums mean this is not really a project in the spirit of ICOs. Demanding a minimum of $25,000, having the larger share, the lion's share of the tokens available only at pre-sale for those investors isn't in the spirit of things, guys, I'm sorry. And as such, it could actually dump when it hits exchanges, because you'll get a lot of people just going in to make big profits, and I don't think the majority of pre-sale participants are in this project because they believe in it. I think they're in it because they want to turn that 25k into 50k into 75k, and that means there's a big risk here. This could dump. I mean that, guys. It could really dump when it hits the exchanges. And again, there's no lockup on those pre-sale tokens. There's no lockup on bonuses. Yep. And a very low allocation to the crowd sale. You know, the lion's share goes to pre-sale, very low allocation to crowd sale. So, you know, people will be fighting over scraps when it goes to ICO. Another concern, there's no GitHub, there's no code available, and that's a real concern in terms of, well, what's actually behind this project? You know, is it actually bona fide? Is it real? A lot of people have been voicing concerns about that. And again, as we can't view any code, as we can't see anything on GitHub, it remains a concern. Is it a proper blockchain? Again, going forward, it is a solution, but is it a workable solution? Will the algorithm work? We'll need to wait and see. And again, I noted a bit of creative marketing on the website. I don't like to see this. You know, just basically having a list of companies that the team's been involved with before. Big deal. We don't give a shit. List your partners, and that's it. You know, don't list all the, don't put these little, you know, icons or company logos. It doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Because that sort of tells me that you're trying to insinuate that you've had something to do with these companies before. Yeah, some of your team members might have worked for them. Big deal. Don't do it, guys. So what do I see it doing in terms of potential gains? Well, I'm going to have to base this on the $30 million hard cap and the 15-cent token price at pre-sale. In an ultra bearish environment, I think this could lose about 20%. Again, it's not going to lose much because it's got a lot of hype behind it, and a lot of people will be waiting to pick this up on exchanges when it launches. In a bearish environment, again, because of the hype behind it, I think this is only going to stay where it is. In a bullish environment, though, this could be an easy 10x gainer. It could even go on the exchanges at 3, 4, 5 times the pre-sale price of 15 cents. So it could be potentially quite lucrative. In a perma-bullish environment, if we get a long drawn-out bullish run, then I think there's 40x potential here, especially over the medium to longer term, and especially if the team starts to implement and we see some real results in terms of the decentralized cloud computing. Now flipping, yeah, I think flipping here could be a definite winner because again, it's got the hype behind it. But if you buy at ICO, that will be purely dependent on the price. We know pre-sale was 15 cents, and again, this is why my concerns are over people dumping on the exchanges, because if you've got $25,000 here and you get an easy 2, 3, 4x, what are you going to do? Of course, you're going to take it, aren't you? It's guaranteed money. So that's why I've got such a big concern about it dumping when it hits the exchanges. It would have been a better idea for the team or the project to actually implement a lock on those pre-sale tokens, guys. It really would have. But anyway, if you can get in at 15 cents, then yeah, I think there's so much hype behind it. There'll be people waiting to buy it on exchanges that you could actually flip this. It might be a quite good proposition there. And hodling, well, over the piece, it should do well, but you might have to take an initial hit if it does dump. And again, you know, a lot of people, if you've not got strong hands, you might end up caving in. Okay, so what are the scores on the doors? And this is my new ICO scoring metric section. It's marks out of 10 for 12 categories, starting off with presentation and pitch. Now, this is a fairly well presented project, but the website doesn't look up to scratch. It needs a little bit of work in certain areas. Not polished, not as polished as I would like, I should say, and it gets a 7 out of 10. Now, in terms of competitiveness, I think this could potentially be very competitive, but again, we'll need to see how they face off with bigger rivals and Goliaths like Amazon, Microsoft and SAP. So they get a 7 out of 10 here. In terms of solving problems, well, they solve the problem of getting your idea that you've got in your head onto a software, onto an app. So yeah, it is potentially very, very good at solving this problem. Again, another 7 out of 10 here. Is it disruptive? Can it actually disrupt the market and take some of that market share? Well, in terms of that, I give it another 7 out of 10. Blockchain and tech, it lets it down a little bit because we don't have a GitHub and we can't see any code. The tech is questionable at the moment, although we have seen a demo. It gets a 5 out of 10 here. And token use, well, yes, it is incentivizing, but again, I've seen better token uses and I've seen better uses of a token on an ecosystem, so it gets a 7 out of 10 here as well. In terms of tokenomics, it gets a 7 out of 10. The tokens are quite cheap, the hard cap is fairly low, and the supply is in a sweet spot as well, so it's not too bad. Tokenomics are pretty good here. In terms of community and hype, well, Belina shaking his belly on stage will make this rise to the top, and it has got a lot of hype now, and it has got a lot of community following, where it probably didn't before, so it gets an 8 out of 10 on that one. In terms of roadmap, the roadmap's pretty well defined, and it's pretty clear. The vision is good, so it gets a 7 out of 10 for that. Team and advisory body. There's only really 2 advisors, and the core team members, the top tier, are consisting of 4 guys, don't have any real blockchain experience, and the other team members, the warriors as they call them, are pretty impressive, but again, no blockchain experience hampers them, and they only get 6 out of 10 here. In terms of partnerships, well, SAP are pretty big. ARM are pretty big, and they get a 6 out of 10 for partnerships. And fair play, well, that lets them down a lot because they've given the tokens to the private investors and pre-sale participants that are giving $25,000 minimum. And again, I give them 3 out of 10. And I told you I'm going to hammer ICOs that are not fair and free for all. So what's my final verdict then on Sparkster ICO? How does it rate out of 10? 1, of course, being the lowest, 10 being the highest. Well, it's a great idea, but question marks remain over whether they can actually deliver in the medium and long term. So I'm giving it a 6.5 out of 10 based on my new scoring metrics. And am I applying for the bounty? Well, it's not applicable because they're not having a bounty campaign. They don't need one. And am I investing? Well, I'm not sure at this stage. I'm going to wait and see what the token price for the main sale really is. I didn't get in during the pre-sale, so yeah, I'm gonna go on the fence on this one, and I'm gonna wait and see if the price is 15 cents or around that level. I will invest something, because based on hype alone, I think this will do quite well, especially in the shorter to medium term. And you know, as I say, if they can actually implement longer term, this could be a real winner, guys. So potentially, yeah, based on the token price, yeah, it could be a real winner going forward. It's innovative, it's clever, and it could be a potential solution to, you know, getting your ideas from your head into that app you've always wanted. So there you go, guys. That is my Sparkster ICO review video, done and dusted. Thanks for watching, and if you liked it, click like. If you haven't already subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel. There's daily content. You can click that bell notification icon as well, and you get notified when I upload new content too, because it's at different times of the day, guys. It's just however I can manage it at the moment, because this stuff takes a long time to do, as you're probably aware. So there you go. That's me. I'm signing out now. I'm going to have a little beer, I think, maybe a whiskey. Chill out tonight, Saturday evening. I'm gonna relax and yeah, leave you to leave your comments below. No trolling, please. Thank you.
Why make trillions when we could make billions?
Yeah.